What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Specter of Death and Part and Parcel. So Brian, let's hear about the Mutators.
Part and Parcel is the map where we have to break boxes to collect parts. When we get enough, General Davis opens the hybrid and then dies to it.
Yep.
We then have to destroy the hybrids for her before running out of time to win the game.
Sure.
Void Reanimators spawn from enemy buildings and revive all fallen enemy units except map bosses. All enemy units are also cloaked.
Okay, so with me are Tutu and Terribleness. How are you guys today?
Great.
Yeah, doing good.
That's awesome. Okay, so Tutu, how are you going to rate the commanders today?
So today, commanders with good mobility and or map presence or static D, strong static D will be pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the reanimators are really the biggest thing and
Absolutely.
good. Yeah.
Especially when you get an air attack wave, because the expansion, you'll have to defend 360 degrees of it because they can come from anywhere. Anything else to add, Terribleness?
It's part and parcel is one of those maps where it's very difficult to clear the entire map in a reasonable time, but it can be done. So it's a strategy that you can go for, and it will work out for you. But if you're uncomfortable with doing such a speedrun type approach, you probably want to go more for the just hard static D, defend, the expansion, defend your main. There's no other mutation effects that make it harder to do that. It's just you have to make sure you do it.
Alright, so let's begin. Tutu, where do we put Abathur?
Abathur. So getting the first Brutalisk is a little bit hard just because you can't see. You can't see the enemies, and also the reanimated enemies don't give any biomass. So, but they'll waste your toxic nests.
Absolutely.
So, once you get 3 Brutalisks, it becomes much easier because you can deep tunnel to wherever the
boxes,
the void reanimators are, and you
Oh.
can kill them.
Yeah.
For offense, I would use mass mutas just to collect the biomass, and then if the Mobius hybrid spawns enemies, that actually is good for Abathur because you get more biomass. For other commanders, you probably don't want it, but for Abathur, getting that extra biomass is really nice.
Alright.
So I put him, but because of his slow start, I put him in B.
Okay, how about you, Terribleness?
No, I agree with B. I normally go for more of a Roach and Locust type of build than the Muta build for stuff like this, because I do like just getting like one swarm host, with good biomass, and then you just leave it near the hatch, and that will help defend versus everything, as long as you have, either overseers or spores around for vision.
Yeah.
But it's army comp doesn't matter as much as getting out those brutalists, which is annoying on this one. And once you get that out, it's not that hard.
Well, yeah, I actually had Abathur in B, but not because of the ultimate evolutions. Actually, I have him in B despite the ultimate evolutions thing, because to us it'll be B difficult to get biomass, but for normal players it'll probably be super tricky to get your ultimate evolutions. But I have him in B anyway because of the swarm hosts. They're pretty good holding down the fort. But yeah, alright, we'll have him in B. Let's move on. Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak, I probably put him somewhere between B and A, as long as you can play P3 Alarak, because Alarak is able to clear this map blazing fast without too much effort. And he does have pretty good tools for defending, even if he's not there in his overcharge, as long as you have a cannon or something provision again.
Sure.
But the other aspect of this is he's got teleport on the mothership, but that's not a particularly fast cooldown. It's 60 seconds, so it's like you can use it to save yourself in a pinch, but it's very easy for you as Alarak to get split between too many places trying to deal with Void Reanimators. It's not his best thing to deal with. So it's like I put him probably somewhere between B and A. I'm leaning more towards B.
Okay, how about you, Tutu?
I have him in B as well, but for a different reason. Just overcharge is good, but this one, if you use P3, you can't F2A because you want to leave like a havoc at each like choke point to spot the reanimators, and you can overcharge something to kill whatever spawns. I would use Mothership to go just the Mothership alone, and you can't see the enemies, but you can see the parts, and
The
you
boxes,
just
yeah.
no, not just like the boxes. You just kill all the stuff,
Yeah.
take the parts, and then teleport out when you're like when you lost almost 1,000 shield. And yeah, so that way you don't kill enemies that will get reanimated, but then the area will be cleared of parts, so you just never have to go there again. Actually, I recommend doing this for like a lot of different commanders, not just Alarak.
Yeah,
If you're
I can
not
see
P3,
that.
you're gonna probably drop to like D or E.
That's the
Without
next thing I
P3.
was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, without prestige, is he gonna drop? So
Without prestige, he would be C tier probably, if not
D,
lower.
yeah.
okay,
But
so both of
you
you
need that fast start out of Alarak to do well.
agree with B, so we'll put him in B. Although I personally had him in C because you can't F2 and A, which is what most people will probably do. Arcturus, where do we have him?
no, not B. I put him in A because his bunkers are really good.
Yeah.
So what you can do is that you like you can semi trap reanimators by like letting them reanimate stuff, but you just kill it instantly, and they just keep doing it. So they don't come closer, and you don't kill the reanimators because
Yeah.
they just keep.
I think
They're
it
like
makes
right
sense.
out of yeah.
They reanimate the same thing over and over again, but it's a small thing, so it never actually kills you.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
So
sensible.
that's doable. But yeah, so overall his static D is really strong, and also you can put defend key spots. For example, there's that little base to the right of the natural, that area. Once you clear that space, there are a lot of enemies, but if you don't want those enemies to be reanimated to your base, you just drop a few bunkers and like put a blimp or a turret, and then you'll kill the reanimators that spawn there. So he has like a mobile static defense, I say. So it's pretty good.
That's an oxymoron. Mobile static defense. So
Mobile static defense.
yeah. How about you,
A.
Turbos? Yeah, how about you, Turbos?
I put him in A. It's like ESOs do work on this one if you go for the clearing approach, and he has no problem like holding out on either the expansion or the mains as far as like protecting things. The annoying thing about ESOs here is they cannot clear everything from one spot. It's too big a map. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend them either because you have to pick up the parts at the end of the day anyway. So you might as well just invest in the army from the start and keep going down that road when you go there. You have to be careful with his top bar, mostly the Dolls of War calling in the Zerg, because they will actually like they're really nice for getting parts if they don't have vision, because they will just beeline for all the buildings, kill all the buildings, and keep going as they die to everything attacking them. But if you have vision, yeah, they'll just kill whatever's around them. So you have to be a little careful of that at the start because they can accidentally pull a whole lot of guys to be resurrected where you don't want it to be.
Okay, so both of you agree with A. Let's have an A. I actually have an B personally, but yeah, A is fine. Artie Farty, where do we have him?
I put him in C personally. It's not. He's actually really nice for this one, I think, but it's more of he's not going to be great for picking up parts for the most part. Like it's
For the most
strenuous.
part, get it?
Yeah. It's a bit strenuous because his static D isn't good enough for him to defend, but he makes up for that in that he can just summon dudes wherever he needs to defend. But he can't really get away from, like, if you're doing like P3 where you drop Archons, you're AoEing the area and killing boxes, but also all the enemies, and it makes a mess of the area. It's very hard for him to just get away from Void Reanimators. He doesn't have a great way of cheesing or doing anything with them.
Yeah.
And it's just a big pain. The other part of it too is his vision, if it's not cannons, is tied to his Robo Bay, which means he's got to progress through all his tiers to get there. so he doesn't have the fastest rollout either.
Okay. Tutu, how about you?
Artanis has very bad static D, so you can't use a defend at home approach. But you can use the, I guess, defend key points approach, which is after you clear an area, you just leave a few dragoons, maybe even build a cannon or two there, and then with observer. And if Reanimator comes that way, then you clear it. It's basically playing zone defense the entire game.
Yikes.
Yeah, so you're just covering zones. You cannot F2A because you'll move your units out of the zones, and you have to have like 5 dragoons at each zone, or else the reanimated enemies will or else you
Overwhelmed.
won't kill the reanimator fast enough.
Yeah.
So I put him in C.
Alright,
Doable.
unanimous. Unanimous. Everyone has him in C. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka. So strange enough, he has like super slow detection for because Dehaka needs level 5, but
Yeah.
then he's still really good. What I did is you just stay on one base. You defend with 3 or 4 impalers at each entrance and 3 to 4 creeper hosts and lots of primal worms. And then your cooldowns, they're super with P2. Your cooldowns are super fat, so they can't see anything, but
they
they will
get
take
killed.
parts.
Yeah.
Yes. So you just go around the map with like an 8,000 HP dock run and then take stuff and they get hit, but who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Him
actually I
cares.
put him yeah. So if you have someone to help you, he'd be even better. So I put him in A.
Alright, how about you, Terribleness?
You know, I agree with that. Particularly if you're using P2 Dehaka. It's like Dehaka himself isn't that great on this mutation. He can't go out early. He's got no way of collecting biomass. But if you just essence. But if you just skip doing that on him and you just go, okay, well, I'm going to focus on defending the zone because he's actually quite good at zone defense. And then, yeah, you just let the map bosses, your calldowns, do all the work. They'll run everything over without much issue. There's no empowering mutators that make them take more damage or anything like that. And Parcel's map presence otherwise is pretty sparse. It's not that powerful. So, yeah, it can do a lot of work.
So where do we have him?
Yeah, I think A is fine.
Okay. A, unanimous again. Nice. Fenix, where do we have him?
So Fenix is, I think, just like Artanis, but slightly better for the most part. His static defense is the same. It's awful, but he does have the ability to teleport his entire army wherever he wants, whenever he wants, as well as he has heroes that he can use to solo off things. Like you can take a Caldanus and send him running in one direction, and he'll probably die or whatever, but it doesn't matter. He'll collect tons of parts on the way, do lots of damage while you're focused on something else. So
as long as you have detection, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking of you can just let him run for the parts and
Yeah.
he'll chew through those boxes quite quickly.
He will.
But yeah, it's like you can do stuff like that with Phoenix because it's just the Artanis strategy but slightly more optimized. So it's like I think I might I'd put him in C but above Artanis probably is how I'd put him.
How about you, Tutu?
Mostly the same. This is one of the few mutations where I had to use P0 because P1 the suits are important. So using them I need the suits whenever like a reanimator shows up. So I can't use them as a call down to kill a wave.
Yeah.
P2 is not good because you need a army. You can't just rely on 6 champions. P3 they need life to take hits.
Yeah.
From the invisible units if they can't see whatever. So P3 is okay, but I used P0. Anyways, it's kind of the same strategy as Artanis, except that instead of leaving a small group, you can just leave an observer. And then when something gets reanimated in that area, you drop one of a Dragoon suit or the Zealot suit. And if like those both can't, if you want, you can also drop like the Archon, not Archon, the Arbiter suit, and then summon your army to deal with the reanimators. So global presence is really good, but still a lot of work though. So I put him in C.
All right,
as
unanimous
well.
once again. Awesome. is there a merit to having like a conservator protecting cannons, or does that not work?
I thought it was just
Um,
units, but
Yeah, I
units?
don't. Yeah, Conservator, I believe, applies as a spell effect aura, which means it won't work on buildings. I mean, that's something I haven't confirmed at all,
Yeah,
but
I could
I
try
believe
that
that's
sometime.
how that works.
It should work though. Like Phoenix
Yeah.
could probably use something like that. Anyway, Hot and
I mean,
Horner. Hot and Horner, what do we have him?
Their strike fighters can collect parts,
Yeah.
but that's all.
That's all.
That's all.
I mean,
The static D? What's static D? The missile turret.
mag mines,
The
widow mines.
Widow mines, they're too slow. Like the cooldown is too long, even with the upgrade. I tried without using a zoo, and I just couldn't do it. It's way too hard to do this without zoo, so I had to make a zoo.
Rip.
And you can make a zoo with even with if they're invisible. It's just much harder. Yeah,
I think
so
making a zoo kind of disqualifies you in this mutation, though. Like, a lot of everybody can basically do it, but like,
it's actually kind of
Yeah.
hard because they're invisible. They
Yeah.
can you can make a zoo, but it's really tricky.
I can see that.
But so like playing normally, Han Horners can still collect parts without like killing a lot of enemies and having them get revived. So they're good for assisting, but that's about it. So I give them they're not completely useless, so they're E.
How about you, terribleness?
yeah, no, I give them the E. I was thinking
Aw.
potentially D, but
I was thinking D.
no,
as well.
it's just not very helpful what they can do compared to everybody else. So
All right. Won't get any complaints from me. I was thinking D, but yeah, E sounds about right. Karax, what do you have him?
Karax is probably I don't know. I might put him in S tier. He's very easy for this one because you have Static D that's not going to really struggle at all at dealing with Void Reanimators. You have a top bar that will let you kill the Void Reanimators. You can kill parts and collect them with observers if you wanted to.
Or Phoenix?
Yeah, or Phoenix. Yeah, no, it's like he's got a lot of easy ways to just like pretty relaxedly deal with this mutation, dealing with things one at a time. Mostly because shield batteries are really good at holding off individual units coming up to your base and trying to do things to your cannons as they heal through it all with repair beam and kill everything.
All right. So, how about you, Tutu?
Yeah, S tier for pretty much the same reasons. For defense, you can choose to just hold at your base or natural, but I think it's better to push out so that like hold key points. You just need 3 or 4 cannons anyways. And you want to clear the areas where where you fight the hybrids. You want to clear them in advance so you can build your static D there. You don't. But even if you don't build, like even if you have to like build it as the Balius is heading towards it, you can still build lots of cannons quickly. So it's really good. So S.
All right, unanimous S. S is once again the Solarite tier. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan. Kerrigan's really good against Void Reanimators, and Omega Worms provide detection. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I need to say. It's S tier.
Yeah, I mean, to elaborate, you can also have lurkers if you don't like moving around in the Omega Worms. You also have Stixbender's favorite immobilization wave, which kills everything. What else would he say? He would say, "Don't use mutilisks; they are terrible." Yeah. Anything else to add, terribleness?
No, she is basically the perfect counter to this mutation for the most part. You have a hero unit, you have very tanky early vision, you have the ability to stall anywhere and go anywhere at any time. It's very easy to play Kerrigan versus this one.
So you also have an S.
Yep.
All right. I personally had Kerrigan an A because, to normal players, playing Kerrigan, takes a bit of effort, more so than Karax. But that's the only reason I had her an A instead. Now let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
I think Nova's a pretty solid A. I think part of this too will be I don't actually recommend P1, which is weird because I normally recommend P1 for Nova for almost everything. but it's only because I like having a mix of units and like getting a large number of units. You don't necessarily need to do a Liberator Raven comp. It's great when you can do it, but like this is normal parts and parcel. Anything's going to work. It's not that hard, and it's really nice, especially if you're trying to F2A. If you can just leave some siege tanks behind with some, missile turrets and stuff, and that is what you use to take care of protecting your base from reanimators. And Nova actually has pretty good map presence. Besides just her army teleport, she herself can move quite fast with Assault Suit. So I would actually recommend doing a P0 for this one, or P2. But P0 is probably
P2.
your better.
Why would you use P2?
You don't actually need to use your what's it called?
Airstrike?
Airstrike that often on this map. It's not that much stuff that's good for it because attack waves on this come very slowly. It's not good against the hybrid.
Like, I use it to kill
So
boxes.
you can use it to kill boxes and clear areas,
I
but
used
it's like that's
P3
not
here.
a necessity. So you can use P2 if you wanted to get essentially more um, insurance in that you can move your army. But I'd recommend P0 because, if you just have Assault Suit, even if you screw up, Nova can just blink across the map in a couple of seconds and kill something.
Okay, so where do you have him?
I put her A, yeah.
Alright, how about you, Tutu?
I used P1, Liberator Raven.
Pretty good.
It it was much harder than I thought. It was really annoying, but maybe because it was one of my earlier runs and I wasn't as experienced dealing with this. But
I can attest to you suddenly losing stuff early game, or when you can't afford anything yet, so you need to like secure your expansion, and stuff are coming to your main because you don't have your Raven there. Because it's fall. Yeah, it can fall apart really fast if you accidentally F2, even if you don't normally use it. If you just need to make one single mistake, and the Reanimators will get in. Anyway, so where do you have him?
I put her in A because she is still good. If you have an ally who can do like some defense, you can just take like one exit or one choke, and you're like fewer. If you use P3, you can do all like focus on offense while the tanks and liberators will focus down the reanimators. You probably should manually target the reanimators like when you see them. And it takes like what, 4 secret missiles to kill a reanimator? 4 or 5. So if you count, you can like count them as well, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then shoot if you have that many ravens. But yeah, so I put her in A.
Alright, so both of you have an A. Let's have an A. I actually had her in B because of the issue, the same issue I kept mentioning before. Like, yeah, she's strong. She can run away. She can tank with the defensive drone. She can move pretty well on just run. But if you lose your army once, it's really hard to recover. But
I
both of you
think
said
that's part of the key point of this too. Is P1 like seems like I believe it's kind of a trap for this one because it seems like it'd be really good because it just makes a dedicated army comp better. But you don't want a dedicated army comp from this map. There's nothing particularly hard about the part and parcels map itself, and like your Nova and your top R can deal with the any waves that spawn. So it's like all you actually need is a decent number of relatively effective units, siege tanks, libs. It doesn't matter what, you just need as many as you can get. And P1 actually makes that much harder to do because it overall decreases your ability to just make units.
do you take your expansion on this one or not?
You can take it if your ally can help you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, let's move on. Raynor, what do we have him?
Raynor, we move unseen. That's already nightmare. That's already just a lot of lost minerals. So with just Raynor and we move unseen, he's already gonna drop ranks. Now with reanimated enemies, he'll have to fight a lot more than he's used to, and you have to scan each time. So
Or have turrets?
it's not very helpful. So I don't know if I'll put him if he's that bad. I put him in E, but
I don't think he's high
Yes.
on Horner level. He has siege tanks. He has bunkers. He has
Yes,
turrets.
that's right. He has his static D is good, so he
His
can
static D is
stay at home.
existent.
Yeah.
His static D is usable.
I think it's that point. It's like Raynor can actually hold on this one pretty okay. Like, you can build the missile turrets, you can build the bunkers and the siege tanks, and you can use that to defend yourself and find the void reanimators to kill them. But your offense is terrible. Like, it's so expensive to push to do anything with him.
All right, so D.
Yeah, I think D's fine.
All right, we all have him D then. Stetboy, where do we have him?
I think Stetmann is an interesting one because I like to put him in A, but I don't think it's realistic to expect the average player to be able to play him at that level. So I think it's probably safer to put him in either a B or a C category because his static defense is terrible
His lurkers.
unless you start using lurkers. Yes, I was going to say, unless you start using lurkers. And it's specifically, they have their precision strike where they can use that to snipe out the void reanimators pretty easily. You just need the ability to target the void reanimators and you can kill them. Offense is not a problem for Stetmann whatsoever. You have Gary, he does everything. So you can just focus your entire army on defense and leave it that. So it's like it's more of how good are people going to be with lurkers, because I've rarely ever see the average player use lurkers. They're really good units, but they do require you to do a small amount of micro.
All
So I'll probably say B for now, just on that. Otherwise, I'd put them in A.
How about you, Tutu?
I actually have never used the lurkers' abilities. Like
Yeah.
I don't know the hotkeys for them. I don't know what they're called. I know they exist, but I don't use them.
The Tunnel of
I
Terror.
One of them moves and one of them focuses, right?
Yeah.
One of them
Yeah.
like moves
Yeah,
and it attacks everything while it's moving or something.
As long as it's on the ground.
yeah.
Yeah.
What one of them does is it applies a damage over time that as long as they're a ground unit, they're just going to die to it. It does a lot of damage. And the
Yeah.
other one is, yes, it's a movement one that does a lot of damage when you have 12 or 24 lurkers or something like that, a big number of them doing that into an attack wave. It will actually clear out the entire wave faster than you can do with a P2 Gary E-Gorb. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of wave clear, and it covers a very large distance, but yeah, it requires you to actually press a button, which is not always the most popular thing in kill-up.
I mentioned that only because I used the lurker static D defense and I did not use the abilities, and I think it was okay. It wasn't good. I had some Zerglings with like helping as well, and Gary doing all the work.
Yeah.
So it was not too bad. So I put him in A.
Okay, I actually have an S, but yeah.
I'm fine with A then. I always just worry about when you have your normal, co-op partner playing, when they play that and they have to start doing a static defense that isn't buildings. So they have to know, I have to make lurkers, I have to put them at these points, I have to give them vision. Because the Gary part's easy. That part's really easy to do. Gary can carry the entire map by himself. But yeah, it's the splitting your focus to do the defense part that makes me worried. Because his is not it's not a good fire and forget type defense.
What I thought of doing here is using lurkers and spore crawlers, and then just have extra drones there for repair, and then have the green zone while Gary clears out the entire map. The only thing I'd really worry about is spawn or hybrid, because that is really annoying to deal with. But both of you agree with A, so let's have him in A. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov, let's see. You're gonna use Diamondbacks. P3, I tried it. It's not good. It's just not good. You're gonna use Diamondbacks with tanks.
I assume you have the first prestige, Frightful Flesh Welder.
Yeah. Oh, if you're using mech, you're gonna use P1. So pretty much, the Diamondbacks are really fast, so you can just run around like to where the reanimators are pretty quickly. If not, you have you can hold with your tanks and the deep tunnel or just infest structure. And while you're you can do that while your Diamondbacks are rushing over, if you even choose to move them back. But against air, if the enemies keep respawning, if the air units keep respawning, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So against ground, he's pretty strong. Against air, not really, not really that good. So I put him in C.
Okay, how about you, Terribleness?
See, I had him in B only because, against air waves themselves, he's actually, okay. He's fine because he's got, besides his call downs, he does have liberators, which are really good at doing that mass sustained fighting. But yeah, no, his struggle is going to be with air. I dealt with air just by building 2 bunkers, and it's like bunkers, normal bunkers, not P3 bunkers.
Yeah.
It's like normal bunkers have no struggle dealing with anything from the air outside of basically battle cruisers, and it's like that's the only thing they're just going to take their time to kill. And if you drop a infest structure on them, even that's not that big a deal. It's like if everything's air, you're going to get overwhelmed on defense eventually if you don't take care of the reanimator. But as long as you're killing the reanimators, I don't see it being that bad. So I had him in B. But
so Tutu has him in C. You have him in B. I have him in. Is B acceptable for you, Tutu, or is he really C?
I think. Well, also if the enemy is Terran, they're gonna keep killing your overseers, and then you can't see anything.
Well, you can do queens, but
if you use queens, then but if you don't use queens and you use overseers, they're gonna keep dying.
Yeah, ultimately, I still think he's B just because of the static defense thing. Like bunkers are pretty good static defense.
Well, the other part of this too is 2/3 of the time it's going to be not Terran, and almost 2/3 of the time it's also going to be a ground or mixed ground comp, which he's not going to have that much of an issue with too.
His offense is slow pushing, just like the people in C. Right now, Abathur and Alarak and perhaps others, their offense is much better. And
wouldn't infest structure be just as efficient in just collecting? Because all the offense you need, aside from the big hybrid, is just collecting boxes. So if you can collect the boxes using infest structure, or whatever trickle reaches there,
you'd have to break the boxes first, because
of course,
they'll just kill all the broodlings that come out.
Yeah, of course, but you can use one of your top bars, or eventually I think you'll have enough trickle that you will be able to kind of push it in. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I didn't use bunker, so I didn't have a trickle, so I don't know how that would work.
I think P0 bunkers are superior here, just because you don't have you have auto static defense, and you have an endless trickle of guys that provide vision that you can just fall an overseer. They will keep shooting.
And I do recommend queens on this one, even if you're not if you're going for the infested approach still, just because queens can also buff your allies' units to make them have vision.
You know what? Let's have Stukov in C for now, and then we can see later if there are a lot more commanders in B. If there are more commanders in B, then I can be okay with C tier. But if only Alarak and Abathur are in B, I might bump him up to B ultimately. But let's have him in C for now, and then see what the other commanders go in. Swann, where do we have him?
Probably A. He's basically Karax light. He's got amazing static defense. He's not quite as good on the offensive for pushing on this, but his defense is so effortless here that he's not going to struggle much of anything. So, yeah, I put him in an A. He's very close to S, but I don't think he's quite there yet because he's not as good at pushing.
Okay, how about you, Tutu?
I put Swann in B because his defense can hold forever, but his offense, you're pretty much going to teleport Hercs, and then the laser will shoot, and it'll collect some parts, and the Herc will die. So it's just doing that, but repeating. If you use if you don't use your call downs because you're afraid of the reanimators, then you're gonna just kind of a waste. You're wasting them. If you use them but you're not ready for the broodlords that get spawned or like carriers or something that get killed and get respawned, then you get overwhelmed if you're not ready for them, like especially earlier on. I think he's fine, but he's not Karax. And also for the hybrids, you need like 10 SAVs to build stuff. And if there are some invisible dudes there, then they're gonna like harass you while you're trying to get a turret up.
Yeah.
If you for Karax, if you're trying to build as the Balius is approaching the hybrid, you just need 1 or 2 probes, but you need like 10 SEVs
Agree.
in that area to build stuff. So
Well,
yeah, so it's a little
I
hard.
didn't do a static defense approach for this one. It's like I go full army centric. It's like I only use the static defense to put on the base because I'm not at all worried about what the Void Reanimators do because I know I can deal with it. It's not that hard for Swann to deal with just about anything the Void Reanimators can pull off, or at least hold out long enough that you can get your laser focused on it and kill it. So it's like I went with a hurt tank with Goliath, and I just pushed. I just pretend that there was no Void Reanimators Mutator. It just did a normal, I'm pushing and clearing the map. Void Reanimators would spawn, they'd try to get to the base eventually and die. It wasn't, it wasn't that much of a struggle.
I'm actually leaning toward B this time. Not quite A, I don't think. But the thing I see here is the way Swann plays, great defense, kind of meh offense, feels similar to how Stukov would feel like on this map. I feel like both of them are like kind of, well, not identical, but kind of similar to their identity on this map. They're the defense guy, and they'll slowly build up, they'll eventually get there in offense. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean that's just how Swann plays. It's Swann's thing over Stukov is just that he actually has no problem with any comp at all.
Yeah, that makes
his
sense. Yeah.
defense can take care of everything.
Reaver Disruptor would shred Stukov's infested trickle. I can see that. But yeah, I guess I can see that being a thing, but I don't know. So do you guys agree on either A or B, or I wouldn't mind having him in B. I have a little bit of an issue saying that Swann is on the same level as Stetboy or as Dehaka or as Nova.
Well, I think he's on the bottom end of A is how I put him. So it's like if you want him more towards the top end of B, I don't see a problem with that. But
okay, I don't have a problem with top of B.
Yeah, no, I think that would be fair still.
All right, let's put Swann here. We'll just rearrange it later. Tychus, where do we have him?
Oh boy, this might be a hot take, but
Yeah.
I nominate Tychus for F.
Oh wow!
F for me, F is like you are not only not helping, you might be hurting your ally by existing. So the reason is that if you are attacking with like non P2, if you're attacking, then your ally must defend for you and you're not carrying. This list is based on whether you can do most of the work. Not all, but most of the work. If you're just attacking and not defending anything, then you're not carrying. If you're only defending because you can't really see anything, then you're not attacking. If you're trying to attack and defend, you're gonna run out of medevac charges. If you're using P2, some of your outlaws will have no detection and it'll be difficult. And if you can handle it with P2, then you probably don't care what my ranking is. So I nominate him for F.
I can actually see your point. Detection for Tychus comes from a few sources. One of his fixers, or one of Sirius's turrets. Does he have like those buildable turrets? I think he does have those buildable turrets.
Yes, he does, but they're made of paper, and they have very little reach, so they're not that great for.
What if you use Tychus' second prestige, and you push with Sirius with his detecting turrets, but you have Tychus on defense with the buildable turret giving him vision? Would that work?
You're saying P2 Tychus gets kind of left out in this one because P2 Tychus on this one is going to play the standard split push. You're going to want at least 3 to 4 outlaws pushing different places at different times.
Yeah.
And you can speed clear the map. And if you can do it that way, even if you're like putting all defense on your ally, you don't have to because you could leave stuff for defense. But even if you do that, you could still speed clear this map in about 15 minutes or less. And in that case, there's no real mutators active anymore.
Well,
it's just a normal
15 minutes is a pretty long time to allow the reanimators to kill your stuff.
Yeah, but you do have to remember that the pushing outlaws will be killing reanimators as well as they push, because they'll be clearing the buildings and everything is behind them, so they have to go through them. So it's like you have 4 zones pushing up. It is a much harder. It's a much more micro-intensive strategy to pull off than the normal Tychus play, which I do believe is that's the struggle, because it's like, if you can play P2 Tychus this way, he's very easily like A tier, but that's not something a ton of people can do, and it's also not necessarily like something you want to aim for, even if you can do it. Because if you can do that, there's a lot of other things you could do with other commanders that would
it gets that
strategy.
Unreasonable level. So, where do you have him actually?
I had him originally in C.
Okay, that's
my reasoning was global presence. His global presence is fine enough that like he can help out and spread out his forces even without P2.
I actually originally have it B, but hearing Tutu's argument, like I kind of see it. Yeah, if you're pushing, you can't really help out unless you do that thing where you have a turret and Tychus defending with serious pushing. That's the only way I think it could work. Or if your ally just needs to provide detection, and you can send one of your outlaws there. For example, you got your third outlaw is Crooked Sam, for example, and your ally just makes a detector at his ramp. You can have Crooked Sam sit there and fight the Reanimators who try to attack you. I don't necessarily agree with F, but I can see where Tutu is coming from. But given that,
what I was thinking would happen is like, okay, you can play P2 Tychus. You're not that great. You can only really micro one outlaw at a time. Well, defensively, you can leave kind of like the outlaws as long as they're near detection. They can kill anything that comes up one at a time. Doesn't matter what it is. They don't have issue with that. So you'll make your outlaw. So you'll make your Tychus originally, and you can push with Tychus for a bit until you get Sirius out, or whichever one you want to do, and leave one to defend, and you just leave all 4 other outlaws with P2 defending passively, and you micro one. Because I think most people can do that without issue, and it's like that will win this map eventually.
As long as they all have a sort of detection.
Yes, as long as they're all around.
Will have to provide.
He can build his gun turrets do provide detection like a normal turret does. It's just you're going to have the outlaw in front of it because it's going to die if anything approaches it.
Do you guys think Tychus could be D or like very bottom of C?
I mean, Tutu is really against it. Yeah, I'd say put him in D because I had him in C. That's not that far removed. It's not. They're not an ideal pick. So.
Okay, so can we settle on D at least?
D? Okay.
All right.
Still not good, but
yeah, at least it's not Hot and Horner.
Hot and Horner.
Vorazun, what do we have him?
I think she's a pretty solid like C to B type. I'm leaning way more towards C than B. She's got better defense than Artanis and Fenix do. Not as good as Stukov's, but very solid defense, and she can push pretty easily because she's got cloaked, Dark Templar that can just take the boxes and go. They can kill detection or stasis it and just leave. And she's got a full cloaked army, so she can do a lot with just ignoring the enemy and pushing that way. She's got time stop to clear out stuff. Like it's not that hard. The Dark Pylon range is very useful for building off like wall offs, which can help control and like limit the number of units that are getting trickled to your base when that eventually happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like cannon, you still have to rely on cannons for static D. I personally leave a couple units back, but you can still rely on cannons or an ally. But yeah, she's basically the better version of Artanis and Fenix.
Is that better enough to put her in B?
I think that's the question, is if it's good enough to get her that high. But yeah, no, I think it's fair. It would be fair either way. It's
okay. How about you, Tutu?
I have her in B because Dark Pylon Wall holds like on for a long time, and if like in the front of your Dark Pylon Wall, you should have a pylon so that you can warp in Dark Templar on the outside to kill any reanimators that are out of the cannon's reach. Time Stop is good for collecting parts. You just use Time Stop and just target the boxes and then like pick them up. So even if you don't have detection, you don't have to. You just break the
just run
boxes,
through.
take the parts, and run.
Yeah.
So it's like hit and run basically, which
Exactly.
is nice. She does have oracles though, which get blasted by the hybrids. So like they get focused so hard. So you need a lot of oracles to make sure you have enough detection to last for the entire duration of the battle. But overall, like static defense is decent and offense is also decent. So B.
Isn't the point of a Dark Pylon Wall to kind of make the enemy not be able to see the wall? So is your strategy to kind of snipe all the detection?
No. Well, the Dark Pylon Wall is so that the trickle can't get to your base.
Right. So it's like an actual wall. Okay.
Yeah, it's an actual wall, like physically blocking them.
Okay.
While they get shot by cannons.
Okay, so it's like, I guess.
The Dark Pylon Wall is not concerned with killing what gets to your base that fast. It will kill it eventually, but it takes time. You're just there because what normally gets revived is not detectors, because Void Reanimators favor resurrecting high supply units, and most detectors actually don't have a lot of supply to them. So very rarely will you have detectors res, and if they do, you can just focus them down. So most of the time they're trying to walk in blind, and that's why it holds so well.
So do you all agree on B?
Yeah.
Okay. I personally had her in C with our test, but both of you say B, so yeah, I can see that with the time stop thing. It's really a game changer. Time stop with extra shadow guard. Without prestige, is she still B?
I think so. Yeah. Now P0, just her. She's still doing the same thing. It's just going to be slower, but same strat works just as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Zagara, where do we have her?
Zagara. So free banes, using free banes on reanimated enemies is feels like a waste of money.
Exactly, it is.
Yeah, you're gonna need bio launchers because that's your best recursive source of damage. So you put bio launchers at areas where they can reach the reanimators or the enemies being reanimated, and then but it's even with that, you're still gonna struggle. P3 is good, the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
You have P3 Zagara with an overseer, and you can clear small encampments little slowly and take the parts.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's not fun. It's not gonna be great. So E.
Okay, how about you, Terribleness?
No, I agree 100%.
I also agree 100%. Zagara is not really the one you want to have against reanimators.
Yeah. No, is she worse than Hot and Horner?
That's gonna be the question for later.
It's I don't think so, but yeah.
Zeratul, what do we have him?
I had Zeratul personally as S tier because Zeratul cannon strategy
good.
is really easy to pull off, and it works perfectly against everything. It doesn't matter that you need vision for things. He has vision on everything, and the things he doesn't have vision on are his Dark Templar and Zeratul himself, and they can all kill invisible units anyway.
Makes perfect sense.
He's got no real struggles in this one. It's a pretty easy map for him.
Okay. How about you, Tutu?
Yep. Same. I just went all cannons.
Good.
I probably could have made some DTs, but I didn't. Zeratul also is really tanky and even tankier as you get more artifacts. So you don't even if you can't see them, you can see the parts, and you have more blinks as you go along. So you can get go deeper into the bases, just take the parts and run without even getting hurt. So he's just really, really good. Doesn't matter what enemy comp he faces. So easy S.
All right, S tier. There we go. All right, so let's go straight to rankings. Who's the best among the S?
Zeratul.
All right. No questions asked. Who's next?
Karax.
Yep.
All right.
It's,
All right. Yeah.
it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Straightforward. How about the A's? Who's the best among the A's?
I personally feel Dehaka, but
I was
I don't.
about to say
Dehaka?
Dehakas. Because
Dehaka's
P2.
map bosses are so easy for this because they just don't care. You just don't care about anything. You don't need vision. You just don't care that you don't have it. You just keep going.
Okay.
You know, I actually I would summon a greater primal worm to get vision, summon a pack leader, and move the primal worm away so I don't kill anything, and just take parts.
Just take parts. Just focus on the parts. That makes sense.
Yes, I don't want to kill things.
All right. Yeah, because they would just get reanimated. That makes perfect sense,
Yes,
actually.
exactly.
All right. Who's next?
I think Mex is pretty happy where he is.
Really? I think Stetboy should be.
Ye-
I think Stetboy should be next.
I do like Mex where he is there because he's of the remaining three commanders, he's got the best defense because he's got bunkers, and his offense isn't going to struggle on this one that much. It's not going to be fast as the other two, but it's not going to run into any other issues either.
Okay, they agree to two?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So between Nova and Statboy, who's better?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think Stetmann, because Stetmann might have the easier time. He's going to have the easier time recovering if anything goes wrong, is what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. All right. Who's the best among the B? Do we agree that Swann is like top of B or
Swann,
something?
top.
Yeah, Swann should be the top.
Swann's probably better.
Swann. It's Swann again.
Capital B.
Capital B. It's the year of the Swann or something. Okay, so who's next?
Vorazun for me personally, because I like her Dark Pylon play. It's not the Dark Pylon wall is very easy to pull. I just feel she's very comfortable to control.
How about you, Tutu?
I remember, like, when I played Vorazun, I just F2 like everything, almost like the entire time, or maybe just pretty much the entire time, except except when I had to control Dark Templar, like to collect parts, I had to be a little more careful. But for movement, it's just like doesn't matter where they are because I'm not afraid of the Reanimators. Whereas Alarak can't F2.
So Vorazun's next after Swann.
Yeah, because she's really easy to control.
Okay. How about Abathur and Alarak?
I like Alarak better, but I also just play a ton of P3 Alarak, way more than I do Abathur. So I think I'm coloring that a bit because I do think Swarm Host defense and everything like that is a lot better.
Swarm Host defense is better, I think.
I think the early game is most important and is the most important part, and Alarak's early game is much better than Abathur's.
That's also true.
All right, so let's have Alarak before Abathur. C.
Stukov?
I think
Stukov's going. If Stukov is not in B, he was going to be the top.
Yeah, he was a B candidate. So I think we also agree that Fenix is better than Artanis, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's just the better Artanis.
All right. And then let's put this right.
You guys feel almost the same.
Yeah. So
I put Tychus above Raynor just because Tychus can push.
Yeah. For
aggression at the end of the day, aggression is more important. So
for E, who's better? Or who's less bad?
Is this a question? Is this a real question?
Hunter is not going to outvalue a Zagara on static defense, and that's sad, but it's also true.
I guess Zagara's static defense at least exists. So there we go. Alright guys, this is the tier list for this week. I would probably recommend one of the S guys, Zeratul, Karax, Kerrigan. Just Zeratul if you're in doubt. I have not yet done Zagara or Hot and Horner. I might try Tychus at some point, just to try how it would actually play out. You know, I would do the thing that I said with a singular turret and have an outlaw defend there and see how that fares. Anyway,
you should have like 3 turrets.
All right,
multiple.
Well noted.
They only cost minerals, and it's like they're made of paper, so get some backups.
All right, that makes sense. Okay, so guys, watch Tutu's channel. I will link it down below. Also, Terribleness. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Terrible. He's technically a mod of my Twitch channel, but he never goes there. So there it is. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. If you have an idea for what else to do, please leave that in a comment. I will see you guys next time.